I'm Randy.
I'm Calvin.
And we are the original security guys.
Okay, we got another video this week for the National Cybersecurity Awareness Month. And this week our topic is about
software updates.
So software updates, we're talking about Microsoft, Apple, Linux, what else?
Pick your software. Adobe, Chrome, Firefox, Office, any other program that you might run, your phone.
Tablets, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it could be anything. So that's what our topic is about this week, and we'll figure out and let you know what the importance of those are so that you can be a little bit more educated. But if you like this content and you would like to see more like it, please subscribe. Hit the notification button so that you'll be notified of our latest and greatest content. We like to be as interactive as possible, so please comment below, ask questions, tell us what we did right, tell us what we did wrong, provide topics that you would like to hear on future episodes. Let's get started. Let's talk about this and see what we got to do for these software updates. So why is it that we actually need to do this?
Because we as humans don't write perfect code.
Well, I don't know about you, but I'm pretty perfect. Could I do it?
Could you do it? Yes. Do you do it? I don't know. I haven't seen your code.
So what we're talking about here is that it can't really be done. There's nobody that, doesn't matter how much money you spend, doesn't matter how much time or effort you put into it, you can't build something that there can't be a future vulnerability that's discovered and taken advantage of. It's just the nature of the way things are done. It's been that way for years, even before computers existed. How do you defend a fortress? You think you have it impenetrable and you've done all the defenses that you can, but there's still ways around it. So it's things that always have to be kept up with. There's changing technology. Hackers change the ways, the techniques that they try to do it. But, what is the reason that we have to do this, these patches? What is the purpose?
Well, back in our younger days, the hackers exploited systems to gain credit, and they defaced web pages to gain notoriety that they had done something. In today's world, it's about the Benjamins. It's how can they monetize it. So they can utilize your system to become part of a botnet. They can use your system as a launching point for another hack. They can do different things. They may just steal data off your system.
So if I don't do the patches, is my computer going to stop working?
No.
No. So is the only reason to get patches, is that because if I don't patch it, then the hackers are going to hack my computer?
Well, not that the hackers are going to hack your computer, but if the hackers find your computer, it's going to be easier for them to gain access.
Is there any other benefit that, say Microsoft or somebody, is there other benefits of getting these patches, or is it only because of hacking?
Well, the patches also at times provide additional functionality. Depends on the program. Yeah. Sometimes they'll mature the program along, or customers have requested something, and they'll add that in through a patch or an update to the program.
All right, so with these vulnerabilities, can I just look on my computer and find these vulnerabilities and fix them myself?
How proficient are you in multiple languages, computer languages?
I speak fluent Okie.
Nice. So, no, I would encourage you to use the installed services of your device to check with the manufacturer of the operating system and to use the various programs to check from their manufacturer if there is an update available for that specific program.
So if all they got to do is go through their own code and find it and fix it, why don't they just go through it once and just fix them all?
Well, we can only fix what we're aware of. And as time progresses, we become aware of things that we weren't necessarily aware of earlier.
So how do they become aware that there's a vulnerability that they need to fix?
Well, sometimes in applying a patch, another vulnerability is created, and they'll discover that something doesn't function right thereafter. There are instances where users complain, and then they discover that the vulnerability has been created, that because the user discovers that they can do something that they couldn't do before, and they report it to the company. There's internal testing with the company for penetration or vulnerability testing. There is external testing through bug bounty programs where they offer a finder's fee for finding the vulnerability based on the criticality of it. So some vulnerabilities are less valuable than others. And then you've got the one, so they're found by white hat hackers or ethical hackers, security researchers, and then you've got the ones that are found by the hackers for nefarious reasons.
So essentially, you got the companies, they're trying to find them themselves, and they try to find them through support tickets and things that the customers, the feedback, and the support tickets and everything like that internally. But externally, they offer, companies actually pay, say, if you will find vulnerabilities and let us know, we'll pay you. And so those could be good guys, or they could be the hackers, depending on how they want to get paid. And what makes them either an ethical hacker, a good guy versus the bad guy, the good guy will find the vulnerability and report it to the company, and the bad guy will find the vulnerability and give it to all the other hackers. So that's what we're talking about. That's how these are discovered. It's not that you can go through them and find them. What happens is every user kind of uses their devices a little differently than somebody else. You install different programs than somebody else. You use it more often or less often than somebody else. You use it in ways that are unique. Your equipment is unique. The way you configure, the way you install, the way you set up, the way you operate your computer, your devices, your phones, they're just a little bit unique. It's unique to you. And through those uniqueness, there's no way that a company can come up with every single scenario or possible scenario that would find a vulnerability or a problem with their software until somebody comes across it and tells them about it, or somebody comes across it and then uses it to their advantage to hack others.
And sometimes vulnerabilities are created because the system uses different drivers, and the program that you install from a less reputable site may have bad drivers that overwrite good drivers, and now arbitrarily saying Office now has a vulnerability in it because of a program that you installed, because of the coder of the software that you installed didn't necessarily do their homework or do it as well as they should have.
All right, so we know Microsoft, they have Patch Tuesdays, right? The second Tuesday of every month, they release all of their patches that they have found and fixed over that previous month. But it wasn't always that way. So back in the 90s, we know that there was a thing with Microsoft called TechNet, and you had to be a subscriber. You had to pay for that. And it's mostly system administrators, IT people that purchased that subscription. And that's how the patches were released back then. And it wasn't a big deal like it is now. It was, they tried, it was hidden. It was almost like it was an embarrassment to companies because they almost felt like they failed to build their software correctly. And realistically, it's just really the way it is. They went from that model to kind of the public model, security. They put Microsoft and others built a security website where users could go there and get patches and updates, but that was an elective kind of thing. So what they found is users didn't have time, or they didn't want to, or they didn't know about it, right? They just would not go there and download all the patches and do that on a regular basis. They would forget. So then Microsoft turned into this automatic kind of thing where they automatically would install them. And then the problem came then, they were doing it every day because you could find things that need to be fixed all the time. And then that become really spam to users and they were annoyed. It is very annoying whenever updates get installed and you were in the middle of doing something overnight and your computer reboots. It reboots and you lost anything that you were working on, a Word document, Excel document, whatever you were working on, it's now gone.
Anything that wasn't saved was deleted.
Yeah. So very frustrating, and that's why they went to this Patch Tuesday, and it seemed to work out very well. But what you need to know is there's vulnerabilities that exist. They may not have just been found yet, or there may be a vulnerability that's found the day after the patches are released, but it's going to be another month before a patch. It could be 2 to 3 or 4 months before they actually have a patch. We don't know, right? I mean, that's various different times. They don't always fix them immediately. So how often should users check and update their systems?
The system like Chrome, Edge, Adobe, other programs automatically launch at startup and will automatically check. But I recommend that you go out periodically, at least once a month, and check and make sure that there's not another update that just hasn't gotten applied for whatever reason. If you did it once a week, it would be even better. The system will automatically check, but sometimes things just don't get communicated properly due to network traffic.
Yeah.
So just go out and check and be safe.
And the other thing I've seen, especially if there's a major update, the manufacturers, the software companies, they're changing the way it operates. They're changing some functionality. They're changing something, and they want you to agree. So a lot of times they won't install it automatically. You have to go out there and click it so that you could click that you agree to the changes that they're making. That happens from time to time whenever they have to make some kind of changes, and it changes the functionality. Sometimes it's new features.
Yeah, sometimes it is.
Yep.
And this includes your TVs and any other smart devices you happen to have in your house, your firewall, Wi-Fi router, your NAS that you may have in your house.
Your vehicles.
Gaming consoles.
Yeah. Your vehicles.
Yeah. Well, Tesla takes care of that for you.
Well, that's true. But nobody else does. They don't update it automatically. How do you do that? Well, believe it or not, I've had to do that before. You got to be parked in your garage or near your house so that you can connect to the Wi-Fi, and you have to stay there until all the updates are done, because that's the only way it can connect to an internet connection to get the update. Unless you then tether it with your phone, but that's an extra step. It's too complicated. But I've done it, but it's not automatic because it's not always connected to an actual internet connection. So, but do it as often as you can, at least once a month, wouldn't you say?
Yes.
All right, so what we're talking about here with these software updates, what happens if I just don't do it?
Your system will continue to function for a period of time. And at some point in time, you will take it away from your house. You will go to some place that doesn't have the protection that you have at your house, and there's an increased chance that you'll get compromised.
Yeah. The thing about what we know about these vulnerabilities is, hackers know that vulnerabilities are patched once a month. They know that even if there's a patch that's put out, does not mean that you have the automatic patching turned on, does not mean that you actually go out and get the patches and get them updated. So the hackers know that there's still a lot of people out there who are just not updating their systems, or that they're aware of a vulnerability, but it hasn't been patched yet by the company. So these hackers, they're ready. They have programs that are running all the time, scanning the entire world for computers that have these vulnerabilities. And they're pretty good about building up a library, if you will, of computers that they can hack. And then whenever they find a very common vulnerability that they can exploit really quickly, they will exploit all of those computers that they found to have that vulnerability, and then they'll turn that into their botnet, right? You talked about a botnet, and that's just a big group of computers that are compromised that the hackers can then use as their virtual army, if you will, to go out and commit crimes and steal data or whatever it is that they're going to do, because they're not going to use their computer to do it. They're going to use your computer to do it.
Actually, there's some evidence to indicate that the hackers are becoming a little more business-oriented. So you've got the group of hackers that scan and look for vulnerabilities. They report that to a group, collect money for selling the already identified systems that appear to be vulnerable to a vulnerability. You've got the group that actually exploits the vulnerability, and then you've got the group that'll compromise, that'll take that system once it's exploited and turn it into a botnet, exfiltrate data, whatever else is available.
Yeah. So it's no longer just one person in their grandma's basement. It's a very well organized group of criminals, hackers, very high end technical people that understand how to exploit these systems. They actually have operating rooms. Offices with cubicles, just like any common office that you would see in the United States. That's how they operate. They actually have offices set up with cubicles, and they function like a real business. They have quotas that they have to do. They have to meet. They have to meet all of the expectations of their customers.
And it's about the Benjamins, whatever way they can make the money. So
Yeah.
it's truly amazing how it's changed.
So we've talked about in other videos about, how hackers will use social engineering or phishing attempts. And really, this is what we're talking about. Really the only two ways that a computer can be hacked, which is the social engineering, phishing, just asking you to gain access to something, or through a vulnerability that they exploit. That's really the very foundational ways, the only two ways that a hacker can really hack into your computer. The other way is actually stealing the device, but that's a whole different animal of what we're talking about, and other things that are involved with that. But we're talking about it being hacked by hackers somewhere else in the world. So that's how that's done.
Yep.
All right, well, we thank you for having this conversation with us, Okie style. Until next time, we are
the original security guys.